Murph, welcome to the program.
Travis, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and it sounds like you're doing pretty well yourself following a 3-0 start to the 2018 season. Had a couple of games washed out, I guess, down there in Gulf Shores, Coach, but otherwise a win over South Alabama to start the season, and then back-to-back wins in Gulf Shores over Penn State and Lamar. All things considered, pretty happy with the start?
Oh, yeah, but, first I wanted to say how sorry we were for, Jalen's family and all his friends. That's just a sad situation, and everybody with Alabama softball is thinking about everybody over at Holt. But, yeah, the tournament was great. We opened up at South Alabama. We knew that was going to be a tough game. They had a senior pitcher in Devin Brown, and she matched basically, so Sorio and her matched pitch for pitch. And we scored, one run on I think it was bases loaded, and a Gabby Calloway hit a hard shot that their first baseman couldn't field, and that allowed a run to score, and that was it. But we did leave 10 people on base. Couldn't get the key hit, but Sorio pitched great. We played really good defense behind her, and the one run usually stands up with Lexi. And then we went down to Gulf Shores, and it was a very exciting day because the two new pitchers, they both knew that they were getting starts that day. Madison Preston, the lefty from Centralia, Missouri, she started the first game against Penn State and threw a one-hitter, and it was kind of a four-hop ground ball that got through the infield. And then Courtney Gettins, she kind of did the old, you can do that, I can do that better. And she came, and the next game she threw a no-hitter versus Lamar. And Lamar had just lost to Ole Miss 3-2, and I think it was 8 or 9 innings. So, I was thinking it was going to be a really good game, but, timing is everything. And I don't know if they kind of had a little leftover feeling of that Ole Miss loss or what, but we beat them, I think it was 10-0, and Courtney had the no-hitter, so. And, we were hoping to play Saturday 2 more, but they called us about probably 8 o'clock and said games were canceled for the morning, and they were going to try to reschedule for the afternoon. And then the weather just did not look good. So Virginia Tech actually went home, and we were supposed to play them. And then almost every other team followed suit. So, but I was pleased. We played really good defense. I think we only had 1 error in 3 games. Obviously, all 3 pitchers, a 3-hitter, a 1-hitter, and no-hitter. And then we got production from almost everybody. And everybody played, and almost everybody got a hit that did play. A couple of freshmen got their first hit ever, so that was cool to see.
Couple of freshmen of note that were really thrown into the mix in this opening weekend that I wanted to ask you about, starting with Kaylee Tao. Sort of the outfielder, designated player, really a good-looking athlete. She looks like she could play just about any sport, but obviously a bright future for the young lady from Kentucky.
Yes, very, very nice swing, kind of a Ted Williams-ish swing. Strong kid. She's like 6 foot. She's kind of the lefty power that we were kind of looking for. In a class, and I think she's going to be a very good hitter for us. She hit a double in a gap versus South Alabama, got a couple more hits, a couple RBIs in the 2 games against Penn State and Lamar, but I think she's going to be fun to watch, and she's just going to get better and better. And we're hoping that she's one of those kids that is kind of like a Jordan Patterson, Cassie Riley, Boscia type of kid that not only is she a great player, but hopefully she's going to be a good leader for us because, she's a 4.0 kid, does the right thing. And we need that type of leader, back in our program like Cassie and Jordan and Ryan Murray.
Now at second base, we didn't see as much of Demi Turner in the opening weekend, and I guess that was related to an injury. But Maddie Morgan, another true freshman, playing a lot of softball for you over the weekend. And then you also got a pretty nice effort, it looks like, from Claire Jenkins at second base too.
Yeah, actually, Demi had she had a team rule she broke. That was the first game. But then she's battling this toe ligament thing, and she did get a double in her only at bat. And hopefully, you know, having the 2 days off, Saturday, Sunday, and then today all we're going to do is hit because it's raining again. But you're right, Maddie Morgan got to start the first 2 games, and then, I think it was first 2. And then Claire got a start in the third game, and she came up with a couple big hits. Maddie had a hit. But both of those 2 are very capable of playing any of the 3 infield positions. So I was really glad they got a start, because that experience of getting in there, getting the jitters out, you know, it'll help us down the road. And for both of them to get their first hit on the first weekend is key, because we've had kids before that, you know, it turned into an 0 for 26 slump, because they you know, you just keep pressing, and you didn't get that hit that first weekend, and the second weekend, and it's like, uh-oh. So hopefully, you know, nobody will have that begin this year.
Looked like a very productive start for your first baseman, Bailey Hemphill. 3 starts, 4 hits, and 6 at-bats, and as we've grown to expect, a lot of walks for Bailey there in the 3-hole.
It's like watching Barry Bonds. She went 1 for 1 versus South. They walked her intentionally twice, and then the third time was an unintentional intentional, where the catcher sat up about 3 feet outside the plate, and they weren't going to give her anything to hit. And then the 1 out she made was the left fielder and the center fielder almost collided, and I don't know how the heck the center fielder caught it, but she was banging up against the fence. So that would have been a double at least. I don't remember her other out, but she had a lot of shots, just hit the barrel of the bat almost every single time. And then to me, the key though was Gabby Calloway behind her, because, you know, South walked her to get to Gabby, and Gabby got that RBI. And then in the Penn State game, Gabby's up with the bases loaded and hits the double that cleared them. So immediately, you know, the 3 RBIs from the 4 spot, which was really good to see. And then she followed up with a couple more hits against Lamar. So that's the thing we were kind of missing, you know, last year, where people would walk our hot hitter, and then, you know, the hitters behind them wouldn't produce. So for the first weekend, I was really pleased with that too.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about protection for Bailey, because absolutely that seemed to be the method for last year, and Callaway giving you some good at bats behind her. But is Demi when healthy, you think someone that you can put in front of her too that helps from that perspective?
Definitely. And Maddie did a good job at the 2-hole, and we put her there because she's probably a better pull hitter, and with Alyssa in the 1 spot, I just think Demi's a better RBI producer, because I think Alyssa was 4 for 4 in stolen bases, and it wasn't even close. So she gets on, it's an automatic double. And then I'd rather have, I think, Demi in the 2 spot to pull the ball, get it through the right side, or even score, you know. So that would be our ultimate 1-2, and then Bailey probably in the 3. And then in the 4 holes, depending on if it's a righty or lefty pitcher, we can go with Callaway, we could go with Peyton Grantham, we could go with a righty, Caroline Hardy, or we could go righty-righty, because a lefty sometimes is tough on lefties. So I'm more of a National League manager this year in terms of matchups, which is kind of fun, because we've got 16 hitters, we've got 8 lefties, 8 righties, and I can play with the lineup a lot.
That is nice versatility there when you have a 50-50 split from either side of the plate. Now, talking with Patrick Murphy, head softball coach at the University of Alabama, on a Monday edition of Southern Fried Sports, presented by Cartier and Lloyd and Mercedes-Benz of Tuscaloosa. Back to the pitching staff real quick, Murph. Again, we know Alexis there is your number 1. That would be the case on just about any staff in America. But you talked about Courtney Gettins and Madison Preston. Anything to put into Madison getting the ball in game 2 and Courtney getting it in 3? Or are you still trying to work out that sort of that pecking order there beyond Alexis? Or do you pretty much feel like you got it figured out right now?
No, I think it was just flip a coin, you know. Madison probably had a little bit of an edge in scrimmages, if we had to get nitpicky, but, a one-hitter and a no-hitter, you can't be, displeased with either one of those. And, I saw Preston's mom and dad drove down from Missouri, and I saw the dad right before the game, and I said, Jeff, you doing okay? And he said, oh, yeah. And I said, don't be nervous. And he goes, too late for that. And the typical pitcher's dad, I think he'd already gotten in his 10,000 steps, and it was, about 10:30 in the morning.
I can relate.
So,
yeah.
Oh yeah, I know you can, but it was cool to see her do what she did in her first game, and both of them. It was just because you never know the toughest position to recruit or to forecast. And I'd say Saban probably would say the same thing as a quarterback for him and a pitcher for me, because you just never know. The speed of the game overwhelms people, and there's 9 good hitters instead of 4 good hitters, and you control the game with every single pitch, and you got to have a special mentality to play a position where a circle is drawn around it, and that's what a softball pitcher, it's called fast pitch for a reason, because it all starts with the pitcher. So if you can get a mentally strong, competitive young lady, she's got a shot. And I think all 3 have those qualities this year.
Well, and what, as you just outlined, had to be a nervy situation for both Gittens and Preston. They kept the walks down and wild pitches. So that tells you, I would think, that they mentally handled the spotlight pretty well, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, both of them. And, you could tell both of them were a little amped up, and Preston is more of a drop ball, and so she threw a couple that bounced 4 feet in front of the plate, and Reagan did an awesome job with her, and Bailey Hemphill actually caught Courtney. So both catchers, and obviously Steph called great games for both of them, because really, the only Lamar hit 1 ball on the button. We made a play, and then Penn State hit like 2, and that was it. So, when that happens, and I think Courtney only had 1 strikeout in a no-hitter, which is rare. And Madison might have only had 1, too. So the defense played great behind them. Sidney Booker made 2 great plays in the 7th inning against South Alabama that not many people would make. Behind the mound, just turn and throw. It was really fun to watch, but I keep harping on that team defense that we're going to hopefully have the best one ever. And definitely in the 7th inning against South, it was fun to watch.
Now, coming up, Murph, you're going to Hattiesburg, sort of a homecoming, I guess, for Reagan Dykes. Your outstanding player. The Black and Gold tournament, you're going to see Southern Miss, McNeese, Mississippi Valley State, and a top 15 club, right, in Baylor, to sort of wrap that thing up on Sunday.
Yeah, Baylor made the World Series last year. I think that was their 3rd trip in about 8 years, and he does a really good job over there. The gentleman's from Mississippi, and he's actually started his coaching career at William Carey, so it's kind of homecoming for him as well.
There you go.
But they'll be a fun team to play. Southern Miss is much improved. She does a really good job. And McNeese is kind of like the Northern Iowa of men's basketball, but McNeese in softball is the team that you don't really want to play. They've won the Southland. They dominated that conference for about 4 years now. The guy at Ole Miss was at McNeese. His assistant now at Virginia. They both did a really good job, and now the lady at Virginia, her assistant, is the head coach now. So, they came over here maybe 4 years ago and beat us in a tournament at our place. And, if you don't play well, they're going to beat you. But, yeah, Reagan's from Collins, which is about 35 minutes north of Hattiesburg. And we're going to they live in the country. The dad is a chicken farmer. And you know what we're eating for dinner that night?
Yardbird, yeah. Fresh yardbird. Free range, Murph. That's free range yardbird.
That's right.
And I believe Collins, Mississippi is where the late Steve McNair had a home. The former.
Really?
Yes. You can ask Reagan about that. She'd know better than I, but should be a fun trip down to Hattiesburg. Then you Coming up the following weekend, you're going to open up here at home with the Easton Bama Bash, a field that includes Florida State, 2 games with the Seminoles, a top 10 team right now in the college softball rankings, a team near and dear to your heart, Northern Iowa, coming down for that Bama Bash.
Yes, and Georgia State.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they were picked third in their Sun Belt, and Northern Iowa actually won the Missouri Valley last year. So that's going to be a heck of a good tournament. And Northern Iowa, I think, started off the season 4-1. I'm not sure. I didn't see what Florida State did, but they have a lot of people back. So it'll be a good field, and we're really, really ready to get to play at home.